Hello to YouTube. Today I'm going to show you some Overwatch 2 optimizations. Let's do this. So, we're going to go to battle.net, go to the settings. On game launch, click exit battle.net completely. What this does is it goes over and provides more necessary frame rate for you. It frees up some areas where it's needed. Next, you're going to go to show and explorer. Take this location, I meant go into retail, take this location. You're going to need it later. Actually, you could probably need it now. So you're going to go to Settings, System. In Display, go down to Graphics Settings. Hardware Accelerated GPU Scheduling. This will have to be your choice on this one. Because of how inconsistent it is for me, it might not be inconsistent for you. In Graphics Performance Preference, click Browse. Go up here. And paste it. And you will get location of Overwatch EXE. Click Add. I already have it on here. And you're going to click Options. And you're going to click High Performance, which is your main GPU. Click Save. One thing you might not know is that Cortana is running if you never uninstalled or stopped it from running. What Cortana does is it, for me, eats up 3% of my CPU, which is a lot, and actually has had a big effect on my frame rates and made my input lag a lot worse. For this, you are going to have to go to, I believe, Startup? I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm sorry. Yes, it is in Startup. You see Cortana. You click Disable. But don't restart yet, because we're not done. Now, for Razer users, this is big if you had installed Razer Synapse. Apparently, there is a bug with Overwatch and Overwatch 2 where it has actually removed frame rates and given you a disadvantage in team fights. So apparently, with Razer Synapse, if you don't use Razer Chroma, which is the lighting effect that connects with the game and changes how the light is, you are going to be losing valuable frame rate. So we're going to go to System, Apps, in Settings. We're going to go all the way down in Apps and Features to Razer Synapse and click Modify. This is going to load up. You're going to click Modify. And here you see that I already had everything unchecked. You're going to have all these unchecked. Afterwards, after all of it's unchecked, you finish up over here. You see I've already done it. My frame rate has never been higher for doing something so little. Okay, so we're going to go to Control. I'm sorry, I was wrong there. I did not realize where I was for the moment. Anyway, next areas where it might have some benefit to you if you were not aware of them originally. So I am going to go over and what is it? What is it? Oh yes, I'm going to the BattleNet library. It should be the install location for you, but I already knew where mine was. You can get yours on battle.net. You're gonna you're gonna go to Overwatch and Overwatch Launcher, and each of them, properties, compatibility, change high DPI settings, and override high DPI scaling behavior, scaling performed by, and set it to application. What this does is it fixes how the pixels are made on the screen and makes Windows have less right in how to make things as is. So it pretty much reduces input lag and will go over and give you a couple frames higher for barely doing anything for both the launcher and the normal application, as you see here. Now we're onto areas that are going to be a little odd. So in program settings of NVIDIA control panel, if you own an NVIDIA device, which is probably going to be necessary for you to really run these games mostly, even though I don't like them. Anyway, you're going to select the program to customize. You're going to add Overwatch EXE. Most of the time, it's going to have it on there already, and you find it. Now you're going to have it. You should have this set for a high-profile NVIDIA processor for a preferred graphics processor. Select the preferred graphics processor for the program, and for me, it's use global settings. But for you, something should be a little different. Image sharpening should be off. Sharpness is already made and adds unnecessary characteristics. Anthroposcopic filtering set to application controlled. Anti-aliasing FXAA set to off. Gamma correction set to on. Aliasing mode set to application controlled. Aliasing transparency set to off. Background application max frame rate set to off. This will prevent your application from doing weird stuff when it's in the background, even though it should not be in the background most of the time. CUDA GPU, use all. If you own a mobile driver, like I have, Dynamic Boost will give you an 8% FPS boost for basically the cost of heat. Low latency mode, off. I repeat, for this game, it should be off. The reason why is NVIDIA Reflex is in Overwatch 2, and that cancels out low latency mode at the right time. Low latency mode literally hampers 20 frames on my hardware. It could be even more or even less, depending on the hardware you have. Every little bit counts for situations like this. Max frame rate. You're going to set this in Overwatch 2, so set max frame rate to off. Multi-frame sample anti-aliasing. Set to off. Or you can set to on. It doesn't really matter on this one. All that matters is how you want the game to look. If you use small, alright. To be fair for people at home, I'm going to set to on so you can see differences. What? No. Screw it. OpenGL GDI compatibility, just set to auto. Or OpenGL rendering GPU, just use it. Just use the GPU. Power management mode. Set to optimal. It will fluctuate in power, so you're not using intense power, in areas that you don't need it, so your hardware has time to not overheat and time to catch up, especially on gaming laptops. Texture filtering, anti-entroscopic sample option. Set this off. It ruins anisotropic. Texture filtering, negative LOD bias. Set to clamp. It has no use nowadays in most games. Texture filtering, trilinear optimization. Set to off. Threaded optimization. Set to on if you have a multi-core CPU. Triple buffering. Set to off. Vertical sync. Let the 3D application do it. But also in the 3D application, you should set this to off. And you click apply. My frame rate might differ from you, but how I test for my frame rate should be standard for most people, as it defines how everything is. Alright, I'm back. And I'm in-game. So, this is not going to make much sense at the beginning, but it makes a world of difference. You're going to skip over video first. Here's why. As some graphic quality settings will override stuff that you set here. So, graphics quality, this is going to be determining everything else that happens. The graphics quality of high sets everything else down here. You can edit this. Pretty much it makes the models look better for no cost. Texture quality is where you have to worry. Texture quality of low to medium is recommended for people who don't have enough VRAM. For high, you need at least a minimum of 2 gigabytes of VRAM in your GPU. Even then, I would not recommend, as it's a waste of VRAM and valuable frame rate. Medium is the perfect sweet spot for perfect looking graphics and gives you advantages in team fights that you might have not noticed. If you're on a more subpar system, low is very, very good looking still. And I have played on low, and I would know. Texture filtering quality. This has literally zero effect, almost zero effect on frame rate. Pretty much, it determines how far away before the models start getting blurry. That's it. Epic to Ultra is the best area you can get for this. Literally, there's no reason for you to not use this. Local fog detail, set this to low. This affects God rays. On some maps, it literally blinds you and puts you at a disadvantage. Dynamic reflections. I set this to off, as it adds stuff you're not going to be paying attention to in a team fight. and the game still looks good even without these dynamic reflections flickering off on your weapons. Shadow detail. This is not going to be off because having it off gives you a competitive disadvantage. I would say at least low, where you can at least see someone's shadow if they're above you or in an area where there's sunlight. Model detail, low. What low does on some maps, it removes some physics objects that are in the way that block you. So, prime example, Blizzard World. There are balloons in the front. You can't see Afara if she's standing behind it. Effects detail. Set this to low. It reduces the amount of effects that appear on your screen, which means you have more field of view of where everything is, and you can see your target even easier. Lighting quality. Set this to high. This literally has almost zero effect on your frame rate. Like 1 to 2 frames at like very high, like 1 to 2 frames on lower end systems from what I was able to tell. Anti-aliasing quality. This is up to the user because this affects edges on their characters. Characters, weapons, everything. So if you want a more crisp looking game, I'd say at least medium. But if you're wanting to prevent from any hit at all, I would set to off. Refraction quality. This is up to the user because this has no effect on game. This has no effect frame rate wise. Low makes you be able to see out of Watchpoint Gibraltar's window, but at that point, it's ruining effects in some other areas. If you're looking for realism, go for high refraction quality. If you're looking for every little bit possible, go to low. Screenshot quality does not matter. You can set it to literally 9 times. All it is when you click a screenshot button, it's going to make a stutter. If you have it higher than 1, that's it. Except for the fact that it gives you more on the quality. Ambient occlusion, set to off. Some areas it makes the game look even better with this off. And it increases your frame rate for literally no cost. Local reflections on. It helps you out in areas you didn't know you needed. Like if you're looking at something and a target's behind you, it might be able to tell you. Damage FX. Set to default. Reason why on default is that it should be on default because it goes over and gives you valuable information when you're being targeted so you're not unaware. Details. Display performance stats on. Show frame rate should be on. Show network latency should be on. So you're able to determine what's going on your wise and frame rate wise. Now we're on to video settings because this area actually matters now after we did all those graphics quality settings. Display mode should be full screen. Target display should be best match or whatever display it is that you have everything set up on. Resolution should be the max that you have with the right hertz setting, which is for me 144. Hertz is how many frames are able to appear on the screen in 1 second. Field of view should be max. There's no excuse. Aspect ratio should be the one that you have as your screen. So if your screen can be a max of 16 by 9, set it to 16 by 9. Dynamic render scale. Set this to off. There's no reason to have this on. Render scale, set to custom to 100%. Frame rate. You have to set this to at least 10 frames over your max display rate at minimum for it to give a consistent load, consistent feel most of the time. But for testing runs, you go max and have reduced buffering off. Alright, so VSync should obviously be off. No doubt about it. Triple buffering should be off. Reduce buffering after you've done all your tests, which I'm going to show you later how to do, should be on. What it does is it reduces the amount of frames the CPU can produce before the GPU can render them. And video reflex. This is a tricky one as most people don't know exactly how it functions correctly. So, if you have a card from, for instance, 2019, enable plus boost, you should have on and enabled. Boost and enabled. But some cards are able to do this even from before 2019. If you have, for instance, a 980 GTX, set this to enabled. The difference between these two is that one overclocks your GPU and the other one does not. But in the end, NVIDIA Reflex goes over and reduces your max latency in half if you go over and hit, for instance, 97 to 99 on GPU usage. That has to be lower. Gamma correction, contrast, and brightness. The game is really bright for me, so I reduced the brightness to 9.97, and the game looks beautiful for me. Gameplay. Okay. So, enable high precision mouse input should be on. If you have a gaming mouse or a mouse that literally has like 1000 hertz or 500 hertz, anything above a normal basic mouse, high precision mouse input should be on. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to see. Accessibility. Camera shake should be reduced. HUD shake is up to you. Reduce movement, menu movement should be for you. HUD, in-world waypoint opacity should be 23%. Respawn icon opacity should be 20%. This will give you valuable information about points and everything else, so you're able to see where everything's heading. Kill feed display. Play sound when enemy is eliminated should be on, and play sound when teammate is eliminated can be on. It gets louder and more high pitched the more teammates are eliminated. So if, for instance, one teammate dies, it'll make a small noise. If two teammates are dead in total, it make it even louder. Goes on and on until all teammates are dead, including you. Some recommendations for Widowmaker. Relative aim sensitivity while zoomed should be 37.89%. What this does is it gives it a 1-to-1 ratio for aiming from scope and out of scope. It makes a big difference. Same for Ana. For Ashe, it should be 51.47%. Recoil recovery aim compensation. This one is a unique area, and it's up to the user to determine. What this does is it pretty much allows you to compensate for recoil and allows you to move faster and quicker before things are happening. It gives you more control. But sometimes it will feel even better with it off or on. Doesn't matter. Personal preference. For Sojourn, even though she's overpowered and basically a must pick, primary fire should be first to the second mouse button. Secondary fire should be for the first mouse button. It makes aiming easier. Same for Kiriko. Toggle healing Ofuda should be off. You can choose how many Ofudas to send out. Swift step sensitivity, 100%. There's no doubt about it. You need it 100% or else it becomes finicky. And I think that's it. Now let me show you. So, I'm going to set myself to spectator. This is important. Add AI. Ultimate. We're going to make a custom game where we see everything going down. I have a state preset for lowest FPS, but I will show you everything about it. In general, you're going to go over and wait. Receive headshots only enabled, so nobody can kill each other. Hero roster should be all, because there's a bug going around where the tanks will not pick in because they can't choose Ramatra, which is dumb. Maps. This is weird, but apparently King's Row, day and night, have the best results in finding out where your low of the low is. But for best results to find out what your low is, I recommend doing it having King's Row day. Now, you will see.
Now entering King's Row.
Now follow
Initiating
where I go,
match.
as this will tell you exactly what is going on in game, and you can determine from here what settings can be changed and everything about it. As you see, my frame rate, even while recording, is it was
Ready
breezy
for battle.
230. Now it's going to be lower because I'm recording. And I have applications open in the background. But if you need, I forgot to mention this, if you need to have your render scale pushed down, or for some reason you want it to go
5,
up,
4,
you can
3,
have this.
2,
You can have
1.
high
Attackers
quality
incoming.
upscaling and put AMD
Defend objective A.
FSR 1.0 and have it image sharpening 0.30. It makes the game sharper. Now here, oh yeah, see, Ramacho. As you see, my frame rate is kind of inconsistent, but it's consistent inconsistent. It's in this area where you're gonna find your low and your high in a team fight. You're able to see a whole team fight, so you know exactly what's going on. It's controlled chaos, and you control that chaos with your frame rate. So I'm getting around a low of 160 and a consistent, oh, no, I'm sorry, a low of 150. Everything else is going consistent. Everything is controlled, as you can see. That'll be it. I hope everyone had a great optimization. See you then. Bye-bye.